The camera opens on a quiet port at dawn. Container cranes stand frozen against the sky. No engines, no horns, no workers rushing to meet schedules that once mattered. A Florida harbor that used to move the lifeblood of trade now feels suspended in time, and hanging over this stillness is a question that refuses to go away. What if a single trade war escalation set off a chain reaction so powerful that Florida lost 280,000 jobs and $52 billion? Not as an abstract estimate, not as a political talking point, but as a real economic collapse felt by families, cities, and entire industries. This is not a story about ideology. It is a story about consequences. Imagine the moment it begins. A sharp escalation in a trade dispute between the United States and its closest ally. Tariffs increase. Retaliation follows. Political language hardens. Compromise is framed as surrender. Canada responds not with speeches, but with strategy. Contracts quietly expire and are not renewed. Shipping routes are adjusted. Canadian importers begin sourcing elsewhere, not out of anger, but out of calculation. European ports gain volume. Asian suppliers expand capacity. What disappears first is not money, but movement. Florida barely notices at the start. There is no single headline announcing disaster. Trade does not collapse in a day. It thins, slowly, steadily, invisibly, and by the time the impact becomes visible, the system has already shifted. Now consider the what if. What if Canada, facing prolonged trade pressure, decides it can no longer depend on American supply chains routed through Florida? What if the shift is not symbolic, but permanent? Florida is uniquely exposed. Its ports are critical gateways. Its agriculture depends on export access. Its logistics sector thrives on international flow. When Canada turns away, Florida absorbs the shock first. Florida is often imagined as beaches and tourism. That image hides the truth. Florida is a trade state. Billions of dollars in goods move through its ports every year. Citrus, sugar, vegetables, fertilizer, fuel, machinery, construction materials, all tied to cross-border trade. Canada is one of Florida's largest partners. Trade here is not abstract. It is dock workers, truck drivers, warehouse crews, customs, brokers, shipping clerks, maintenance teams, and the service industries that orbit them. When trade slows, these jobs do not adapt. They vanish. The first warning comes at the ports. Container volumes drop. Fewer inbound shipments tied to Canadian routes. Fewer outbound cargoes heading north. Overtime is cut. Then shifts. Then entire terminals. Workers are told it is temporary. It never is. Port revenues fall. Local governments lose fees. Maintenance is postponed. Expansion plans are shelved. A port that shrinks becomes less competitive, and once competitiveness is lost, traffic does not return. From the docks, the shock spreads inland. Trucking firms see contracts disappear. Independent drivers park their rigs and wait for calls that never come. Warehouses operate at partial capacity. Rail connections slow. Shipping insurers raise premiums. Logistics companies face fixed costs with shrinking revenue, and when that happens, people are cut first. Logistics employment collapses faster than trade volume itself. Then agriculture feels the knife. Canadian buyers who once relied on Florida producers have moved on. New suppliers fill the gap. Florida farmers are left with surplus crops and collapsing prices. Small and mid-sized farms cannot absorb the loss. They sell land. They shut down. Rural economies hollow out. Seasonal labor disappears. Local businesses follow. There is no spectacle here, just quiet failure. Tourism and services are hit next, not directly, but inevitably. Trade jobs supported entire regions. When tens of thousands lose income, spending falls. Hotels see fewer domestic bookings. Restaurants shorten hours. Retail contracts. City budgets shrink. Transit degrades. Schools lose funding. A trade war does not stay confined to exporters. It infects everything downstream. This is how the number becomes real. 280,000 jobs do not vanish at once. They disappear in waves. 30 drivers here, 500 dock workers there. A food processing plant closes. A warehouse automation project is canceled. A shipping firm relocates. Multiply these losses across the state, and within 2 years, Florida is down 280,000 jobs. Unemployment spikes in regions that never expected it. And unlike a recession, these jobs do not come back with stimulus because the trade routes are gone. The $52 billion does not burn. It moves. That money flows to other ports, other states, other countries. Canadian firms sign new contracts. Foreign infrastructure expands. Competing regions absorb the capacity Florida lost. Trade networks once rebuilt harden. There is no incentive to reverse them. What makes this scenario even more dangerous is how invisible it feels while it is happening. There is no single day when leaders gather to announce that Florida's economy has crossed a line of no return. There is only normalization. Fewer ships this month becomes the new baseline. Fewer jobs next quarter becomes an adjustment. Entire communities learn to live smaller without ever being told why. And by the time policymakers begin to react, the leverage is gone. Trade does not wait for apologies. It does not respond to speeches. It follows reliability, predictability, and cost. Once trust is broken, it does not come back easily. Corporations adapt faster than governments. Supply chains rewrite themselves with ruthless efficiency. New ports gain experience. New workers gain skills. New contracts lock in long-term dependencies. Florida is not just losing trade in this scenario. It is losing relevance. And relevance in a global economy is everything. When a region is no longer essential, it becomes optional. Optional regions do not attract investment. They do not get priority. They get bypassed. This is the silent power of economic realignment. It does not punish loudly. It rewards elsewhere. And that is why the damage lasts longer than any tariff. Long after the political dispute fades from headlines, the economic architecture remains changed. The cranes stay still. The routes stay redirected. The jobs stay gone. Digital logistics, dynamic pricing, automated contracting. A political decision today can empty a port in months. There is no single villain and no clean rescue, just momentum. This is the larger truth. Modern economies are fragile, not because they are weak, but because they are optimized. Optimized systems break when politics ignores logistics. Trade wars do not stay on spreadsheets. They show up in empty storefronts, foreclosure signs, and silent harbors. Florida becomes the warning. And as the camera returns to that still port at sunrise, one final question remains. If a single trade decision can erase 280,000 jobs and $52 billion without a single shot fired, what happens when the next trade war is larger, faster, and global? And who becomes the next Florida?